So, good morning everyone. Today's presentation is about basic finishing of wood and bamboo. So, I deliberately put wood and bamboo for this topic to emphasize that these finishing techniques that we're going to discuss is applicable both for wood and bamboo as well as other lignocellulosic materials. This is the outline of my presentation. Wood finishing is defined as the technique of applying transparent or semi-transparent liquid coating to preserve and accentuate to the fullest extent the substrate's grain, color, and figure, thereby enhancing its natural beauty. So, pwede natin i-dissect yung definition of wood finishing first by comparing wood finishing by that of painting. So in wood finishing, we use as transparent or semi-transparent finish, no? As when compared with painting, kung saan we use opaque finishes to hide the natural structure or the natural color ng ating substrate. But in wood finishing, we use as semi-transparent or transparent coating. And almost always, the finish we use are in liquid form, unlike for instance a metal where we use like powder coat. While in wood finishing, it's also important to emphasize that our goal is to um, to accentuate, no, or ipakita natin yung natural na beauty ng ating material, which is wood or bamboo. So for instance, in this picture, it shows yung changes ng isang wood furniture, no, from dun sa raw or without finish hanggang ma-finish na siya, kung saan we change the natural color of the wood product, but then ma-identify mo pa rin or malalaman mo pa rin na yung substrate niya is kahoy. So these are the four major purposes of wood finishing. So these are protection, sanitation, decoration or aesthetics, and saleability. So i-discuss natin ito isa-isa. So protection, accordingly, yung finish daw protects foods from several environmental, mechanical, and biological factors. So, yung mga finished na products like furniture and handicrafts, for instance, yung mga furniture for outdoor application or for outdoor use, when you applied finish for this kind of products, finish has the tendency or the capacity to delay the effect of weathering or yung effect ng weathering or yung tama ng araw or ng ulan dun sa mga pang-outdoor natin ng furniture. So, it enables to delay the effect of weathering. So, for mechanical factors naman, it provides protection against many destructive forces katulad ng soiling, staining, checking, shrinkage. And for biological factors, we know that wood has the capacity to absorb and release moisture. So, para siyang sponge, kung saan kapag nag-absorb or nag-release siya ng moisture, nagkakaroon ng dimensional change sa kahoy. So, with the properly dried na wood or bamboo, once you apply finish, this low moisture exchange nare-reduce yung stress and also in effect nape-prevent or nagpipigay siya ng additional protection against the effect of biological agents of deterioration such as fungi or bukbok for bamboo. Sanitation, finish seals the pores of wood surface, making it less susceptible to soiling. So, kapag walang finish ang isang kahoy, you will notice na mas mahirap siyang linisin and at the same time, mas madali siyang kapitan ng dumi. So, once yung finish is na-apply, mas madali nang linisin yung surface ng kahoy or ng bamboo. And aesthetics. So, one of our favorite purpose for finishing is the aesthetics, no? Yung effect niya dun sa physical appearance, the overall physical appearance ng ating product. So, accordingly, it enhances the natural beauty by altering or improving the appearance through addition of a uniform color or new color combination. But then again, we have to emphasize also na even though finishing can change, no, yung natural color of food, nandun pa rin na visible yung natural grain pattern while we finish. So also, yung bamboo or yung wood, meron siyang iba't ibang luster, no? Quality or level ng luster. So through finishing, we're able to bring out the full depth and luster ng wood and bamboo. And consequently, so mas attractive yung ating products. Also, magiging durable, which contributes to a wide variety of products as shown in the picture. So, yung wide variety of products, mas inviting, mas desirable, and consequently, mas saleable. And I must say, yung paglalagay ng finish or wood finish sa ating products would increase the value ng ating product. There are two major modes of application of finish, such as brushing and spraying. So, brushing is the most reliable method of applying finishes. Basically, gumagamit tayo ng brush with different sizes from 2 cm to 8 cm. Spraying, on the other hand, is the atomization of liquid or ng coating material into fine droplets, kung saan after the coating is atomized, ipinoproject ito sa surface that we're going to coat. Some finishers apply the finish through rubbing or yung wood na munyego, kung saan yung liquid or cotton rag or cloth soaked into the finishing material is rubbed onto the surface. Okay, there are advantages and disadvantages for using brushing and spraying, which are the two most common methods of applying finish. So for brushing, relatively it is simple and inexpensive. So for like less than 100, pwede ka nang makabili ng brush. And hindi mo kailangan ng masyadong higher level of knowledge to apply yung brush. No? So as shown in the picture, kapag gagamit ka ng brush, you just hold it like you hold a pencil or a ball pen. Dip the brush into the liquid coating and then apply it in a single straight na stroke. So basically, it's easy to apply. It is more economical since sabi ko nga, mas mura siya. It facilitates easy touch-up jobs. So kung may mga defects, mas madali siyang i-repair. And it results to finish that is comparable or even better than spray, depende sa level mo ng pag-a-apply by brushing method. Well, some of the disadvantages are it is a slow process. So, for a short period of time or for a longer period of time, relatively, mas kaunti yung pwede mong i-finish as when you compare it with spraying method. It is inapplicable or difficult to use with certain finishes like polyesters, polyurethanes. And also, kung hindi ka ganun galing pa gumamit, it has the tendency to result in brush marks which reduce the finish quality. So actually, brush mark is a form of a finishing defect. Okay, the second major mode of applying finish is by spraying. No? So, its advantages are as follows. The speed of application, it is suitable for mass application. So, kung lalo na for production type, if you're doing this for business, mas marami kang pwedeng ma-finish in a short period of time, which results to economy of time and labor. Kasi kung mas marami kang kailangan i-finish, 1 or 2 finisher, no, or taga-spray, you can achieve more products na mapi-finish. And then it is suitable in application in a wide variety of coatings. Almost all coatings kaya niyang i-apply basta ititimpla mo lang siya sa tama niyang consistency or viscosity or yung labnaw or lapot ng coating material. And simplicity of operation. Well, principle-wise, simple lang yung operation ng spraying. So, as shown in the picture, we can compare it dun sa pag-flow ng water from gripo, no? Kung saan, once you increase the pressure, mas may tendency to atomize or mas maging maliliit yung droplets of water. And then, you project it by magpulalagay ka ng pressure and then project it on the surface na gusto mong i-finish. Disadvantages are high wastage in finishing material. So, relatively, kapag nag-spray ka, hindi 100% ng coating materials mo ay mapupunta sa product na ipinifinish. It has higher investment cost because you will be needing spray gun, compressor, and some accessories. And also, it is dependent on power supply. So the compressor is actually dependent on power supply and requires higher degree of equipment maintenance. So from time to time, kailangan mong i-maintain yung iyong compressor. And of course, the spray gun, every time na gagamitin mo siya, kailangan mo siyang linisin properly. So this is the general steps in finishing. We started in surface preparation. I separate about filling, but it can actually become a part of surface preparation. Then followed by sealing or wash coating, staining. Actually, sealing and staining can be applied, interchangeably. And finally, yung top coating. So we'll discuss it one by one. Surface preparation. Lagi po namin sinasabi sa training that surface preparation is the most important operation sa pag-prepare ng raw material for finish. So, ibig sabihin, the secret of a good quality finish lies in a good quality surface preparation. So, basically, in surface preparation, we remove skin for bamboo, the tool marks for both wood and bamboo, loose fibers, and smoothen the surface so that yung mga reflective surfaces or reflective properties ng finishing materials will accentuate the natural beauty ng ating substrate. So for surface preparation, so in this one, I showed a picture ng bamboo showing yung different parts. Generally, it has the node, the internode, the diaphragm, and I would like to focus here on the outer skin and the inner skin. Kapag ang ating ipifinish is bamboo, we need to remove the outer skin and of course the inner skin para ang ating coating material will adhere sa surface ng bamboo. So for that to happen, we have to first scrape the outer skin or yung coating layer. We do also followed by removal ng skin or by cleaning. And finally, yung sanding. So, scraping is the use of drawback, bolo, or knife in the manual removal of bamboo skin or yung coating layer. So, the general method ng pag-remove ng skin sa Philippines is via scraping. It's manual labor. Once yung skin for bamboo ay na-remove na, it can go na sa sanding or yung tinatawag kung saan gumagamit tayo ng successive use of different abrasive grits to produce a smooth surface suitable for the application of finish. So sanding for in this slide shows yung iba't ibang tools na ginagamit sa pagsasand ng wood or ng bamboo. We have the desander, we have the vibrating sander, the spindle sander para dun sa mga inside part ng bamboo. So there are more kinds of different kinds of sander available depende sa purpose. And then for manual sanding, we can also use sanding blocks. So, sa sanding, as I've mentioned, we use different sanding grits, we use different sanding grits. So, grit refers dun sa number of abrasive particles per inch of sandpaper. Grit or in Tagalog, ito yung tinatawag na gaspang, kung gaano kagaspang yung ating sanding paper. Ang sanding paper, meron siyang number from like as low as 40 to even 1,000. So, as the number increases, mas nagiging fine ang grits ng sanding paper. So, ayan, from 40 to 60, it is classified as coarse. As the grit increases yung value, mas nagiging fine siya from coarse, medium, fine, very fine, extra fine, and super fine. So, in wood finishing, FPRDI recommends the use of 100, 180, and 320 sanding schedule. No? So the idea in sanding is we sand it from coarse grit to fine grit. So sa coarse grit, like for 100 for instance, the goal is to remove the tool marks during assembly ng ating products. And then, yung mid-sanding na 180, i-smoothen niya. The goal niya is to smoothen yung surface. And finally, 320 para mas smooth pa. The next step is titled filling. No? It is the use of heavily pigmented material, kung tinatawag din filler, to close the imperfections or pores of a substrate. No? Basically, it fills yung mga crevices, mga joints, nail holes. No? Piniprepare niya yung minor blemishes on the surface ng substrate. Accordingly, proper filling results to smooth and uniform surface. So, this slide shows yung example ng body filler. So, yung body filler na nakikita natin sa market, sila yung mga ginagamit for mag-close ng mga crevices nga, ng mga nail holes, ng mga imperfections. So, this slide shows yung example ng crushed bamboo. No? Yung isang crushed bamboo, meron pa siyang open na space. So, we apply a body filler. So, after application of body filler, magiging even na yung kanyang surface. So these are the two types of filler available in the market. We have the one component and the two component. Yung available sa normal na available sa market is na one component is yung lacquer type. Example is the pula type. So it can be mixed with tinting color, no? Yung pangkulay, which I will discuss later. So the advantage or the disadvantage of using this one component or lacquer type na filler is that it sags after drying. So, ibig sabihin, you need to reapply the filler once mag-dry. On the other hand, we have the two-component body filler. Example nito is yung pulley top. So, it's a two-component because you have the main component and you need a catalyst para yung filler ay matuyo. So, compare with the one-component type, mas mabilis itong mag-dry, no? Just a few seconds. However, just recently, we tried mixing it with tinting color. Kasi since mas matibay nga ito at mas mabilis ma-dry, we tried mixing it with the tinting color. So, ang naging effect niya is mas nagkaroon lang ng delay or mas bagyang mabagal yung kanyang drying time. But the idea is that pwede din siyang makulayan. Compare with the one component, once ma-apply mo siya and matuyo, nagre-result siya sa even surface after drying. And then, it can be sanded after application. So actually, itong pag-fill, pwede mo siyang gawin before the sanding operation. Now, there is the second type of filler we call wood filler, kung saan, if we want to achieve a close-grain finish, we apply the so-called wood filler. So, there are certain types or kinds of wood kung saan open grain siya, no? As shown in the picture. So, yung wood filler, iyan yung isang example na pwede natin ilagay para mag-even at maging smooth yung surface. So, actually, yung paggamit nito is depend sa gusto, no, either no market mo or yung nag-finish. Sealing naman, purpose niya is to provide barrier between the stain and the finishing coats and also between the filler and the stain. So sealing can be applied either before or after application of stain. It is applied to stop absorption of succeeding coats. No? Kapag nag-apply tayo ng sealer, kapag nag-apply ka ng sealer prior to top coating, mas nakakatipid tayo sa paggamit ng top coat. Kasi this sealer hardens the grain of wood. No? It hardens the grain of wood and it levels top coat application. So what are the advantages of using sealer? Ease of sanding, so mas madali siyang isand. High build, so kung gusto mo na parang mas makapal tingnan yung iyong finish, you need to apply sealer. It is quick drying and labor saving. Labor saving kasi hindi mo kailangan mag-sand ng mag-sand once you apply yung sealer. Okay, next is staining. Staining is the application of colorants to accentuate naman or change the natural substrate color. So, staining adds richness, depth, and color to the substrate. However, kapag tayo mag-apply ng stain, since by definition, we do not want to change we want to just accentuate the natural beauty ng ating substrate. Stain should leave a transparent effect. So there are two types, general types of stain. We have the so-called pigment and the dye type. So pigment, ito yung mga finely ground solid colored particles that resembles colored earth. So by nature, ito ay opaque dahil nga siya isang pigment. Kaya kapag gumagamit tayo ay dapat uti-uti lang or hindi mo dadamihan, uti-uti lang. It lodges in wood depressions such as pores, scratches, and gouges. While yung dye type naman, this is the color in tea, coffee. It is the color in tea and coffee, and it penetrates into the wood and leaves a transparent effect. So, the idea behind sa paggamit ng stain or ng pigment and dye type, I always use some analogy kung saan kapag kumuha ka ng ground solid, sabi niya rito, it's a finely ground solid, So, kapag kumuha ka na, for instance, ng mud, you mix it with water. Once you mix it with water, you brush sa surface ng kahoy. So, what you imagine is that nandun lang siya sa ibabaw ng surface kung saan mo siya in-apply. That's why, the more you apply, mas marami, mas darker. So, the more you apply, mas may tendency siya na i-hide yung natural na surface property. Kung saan sa dye naman, you mix, for instance, a coffee in water and then brush it in the surface of wood. So what will happen is magpe-penetrate siya dun sa wood surface. So in essence, hindi niya hinahide yung natural na grain ng kahoy. So these are the stains available in the market. So, yung dye type, nandyan yung tinatawag na non-grain racing stain. Yung pigment type, nandyan yung tinatawag natin tinting color in oil. And yung mga, meron ding mga readily available na wood stain, those are pigment type. So, basically, for the dye type or the NGR, it can be dissolved by alcohol or lacquer thinner. It can be mixed with top coat. And it is applied by spraying or brushing. While the tinting color in oil or yung mga wood stain or na oil type, it can be dissolved by mineral spirits such as gasoline, paint thinner, and petrol. And it can also be mixed with top coat. And the mode of application is preferably spraying kapag ready to apply or brushing. Now, basically, the secret sa pag-stain is that you brush it first, and then patutuyuin mo ng bahagya, and then ida-dry spray. So that will be shown in the level 2 ng training. And finally, top coating. This is the final layer of coats applied to a substrate. So there are various types of top coat available in the market based on the curing or yung drying property niya. Meron tayong tinatawag na evaporative finishes, reactive finishes, and coalescing. So yung evaporative finishes, ito yung solids niya or the resin component is dissolved in solvent. And it dries from bottom up. Ibig sabihin, since the solid or the resin is dissolved in solvent, yung solvent is nadadry siya by evaporation. So, once in-apply mo yung ganitong klase ng finish sa iyong substrate, unang nagdadry yung ibaba at uti-uti siyang nagdadry pataas na as yung solvent nag-evaporate sa environment. While the reactive finishes naman change chemically when they cure. So basically ito yung characteristics ng mga two-component finishes kung saan once you mix yung two material like the top coat and its catalyst, nagkakaroon ng chemical link or cross-linking uh, para sila ay ma-cure or mag-dry. So, compare with evaporative finishes, mas difficult silang i-break apart. While there's also the so-called coalescing finishes, kung saan it's a combination of both evaporative and reactive finishes. So, ang example nito is yung mga water-based finishes kung saan yung tiny dispersions or droplets of pure reactive finishes emulsified in water. So, the common types of film-forming top coat available in our market are nitrocellulose base, polyurethane, acrylic urethane, and water base. So, generally, yung name ng mga top coat depends on the resin na ginamit dun sa ang finish. So, for instance, the nitrocellulose, based on the name itself, ang resin component nyo or yung binder niya is the nitrocellulose lacquer. And then, same with P and A. Okay. All of the top coats, nagbavary siya ng level of gloss. No? So, merong high gloss, merong flat, or merong mid lang. Yung mga matte, ganyan. So, for the lacquer, available in the market, meron tayong mabibiling tinatawag na clear gloss lacquer. So, from the name itself, glossy siya once ma-dry. Clear flat lacquer, which dries flat. We can also combine itong clear gloss and flat lacquer to achieve a semi-flat. So, that means in between the glossy, and flat finish. Yung lacquer enamel naman, well, it's also used in wood. However, this is for painting because it is a colored lacquer. No? So, yung lacquer basically is the binder. So, it can also be flat, satin, or gloss. Also, sa wood finishing, there are some that uses automotive lacquer. So basically, the resin is lacquer, pero ginagamit siya talaga for automobile finishing. But there are some who also use this automotive lacquer. So comparatively, since pareho silang lacquer, pareho lang yung kanilang properties, but dahil nga yung automotive is for automobile finishing, mas mataas yung weathering resistance niya as compared with clear gloss lacquer. So these are the qualities of lacquer. Relatively quick drying time, ease of repair and removal due to its evaporative curing characteristics. It has exceptional film clarity, excellent rubbing qualities. So once siya ay may apply mo na, once ma-dry, pwede pa siyang i-rub if you want to increase the level of gloss. And it is relatively low cost compared to other finishes. Yung second type naman, yung varnish, is actually a mixture ng oil and resin. No? Isang component na ibig sabihin, meron siyang oil, resin, and of course, the solvent. No? So, yung mixture niya is, number one, as I've said, since may oil siya, it could be a curing or semi-curing oil plus the resin and dryer. Dahil nga yung oil, dahil sa oil, since mapapatagal niya yung drying time, we need yung kumbaga additives, which is dryer. So, example ng mga resins are the phenolic resin, which is a combination of phenol and formaldehyde. We also have the alkyd resin, which is a combination of alcohol and acid, and polyurethane, yung polyol and isocyanate. So, yung nabibili natin na polyurethane in the market is actually alkyd resin modified with PU. So, yung mga phenolic resin, ang characteristic niya is it pure stuff and flexible. However, it has the tendency to turn yellow over time at na-combine siya with tang oil to make spar varnish. So, yung mga nabibili natin na spar varnish is actually made from phenolic resin. Yung alkyd resin naman is cheaper and hindi siya masyadong color yellow as time passes by. Polyurethane naman is the toughest of the three. So, then siya yung mas durable. However, sometimes it has this slightly cloudy appearance and it does not bond well with other materials. Kumbaga sa mga cellphone, this is the iOS or this is the iPhone kasi meron siyang sarili niyang set ng mga materials at sabi nga, it does not bond well with other materials. So, ang characteristics naman ng polyurethane is it has high resistance to heat, where solvents, acids, and alkalis. Meron din siyang resistance to water and water vapor exchange. However, compared with lacquer, for instance, it has a long curing time. Mas difficult siyang i-repair and strip. Difficult to rub if you want to increase the level of loss. And it has this tendency to skim over sa can. And the second type naman, commonly available sa market, is yung acrylic urethane. So actually, yung acrylic urethane is another type naman ng polyurethane without oil naman. And then we have the so-called water-based. So ang mga water-based finishes are either acrylic or polyurethane dispersed in water. So basically, since siya ay water-based, ang solvent component niya is yung mga nag-evaporate slower than water. Ibig sabihin, mas mabilis ma-dry ang water compare sa solvent na gamit dito sa mga water-based na finish. So once the water evaporates, yung mga tiny droplets of finish come together to coalesce. So this is the third type ng finish based on drying or curing time. So it interlac, no, then forms a continuous film. So ang characteristics ng mga water-based is that it is less resistant to heat, solvents, and acids or alkalis as compared to its oil-based component, and it is a weaker barrier against water penetration and water vapor exchange since this is soluble also in water. So, yung difference niya naman with solvent-based is reduced solvent content. I would like to emphasize here that water-based finish are actually not entirely dissolved in water, no? It's just, meron siyang reduced na solvent content compared with its counterpart na solvent-based finishes. So, kaya din siyang i-clean with water, and its cured finish is also colorless. Okay, ito naman yung drying time of different top coats. No? So, sa drying, meron tayong tinatawag na recoat, dry hard, and to-pack. Ibig sabihin, recoat, kung kailan pwede mo siyang i-reapply. Dry hard, pwede mo na siyang hawakan na hindi na magmamark yung iyong like finger dun sa iyong finished na surface. And to-pack yung for packaging, ready for packaging na siya. So, as you will notice and see as the faster drying recoat time from 15 to 20 minutes, and the it has the shorter recoat time, recoat drying time from 15 to 20 minutes, shorter dry hard coat drying time from 30 to 45 minutes. So, as you compare with AC and PU, which yung PU has longer recoat time from 30 to 45 minutes, and to the dry hard ng 4 to 8 hours. So basically 8 hours siya magiging dry hard, and yung for packaging, it takes for AC and PU takes 12 hours. So these slides, I just want to show how itong iba't ibang types ng top coat, how they perform, no? So these are some of the tests of finishes applied on bamboo. So for instance, resistance to acid, you will see that PU, AU, and yung Valspar has the highest level of resistance against acid. So yung NC naman, so nasa mid-range lang siya, level 3. However, yung water-based na finish, which is yung water-based PU, it has a very low rating. So ang baba yung resistance niya sa acid. However, in terms naman sa adhesion, so yung adhesion ito yung important property ng finish for it to be able to protect yung surface, no? Kailangan mataas yung adhesion property niya. As you can see, so the second slide or second picture shows yung percent na film removed sa finish na kawayan na sample. So you will see that yung NC has lower percent film removed. Ibig sabihin niya, meron siyang mas mataas na adhesion property as compared with other finishes like AU and PU. While this last slide, I just want to show yung different hardness level. So makikita nyo na it's also good to point out na different species performs differently depende sa finish. So for instance, makikita nyo dito sa PU, iba't iba ang nagiging hard effect ng hardness level with kawayan tinig, with giant, and bolo. So iba't ibang species na ang bamboo. Now, what are the factors used in selecting finishes? So, number one, yung intended market. It could be yung bang middle class or high class. Is it for furniture? Is it, ano ba yung country of sale? So, depende sa pagmamarketan mo. Kumbaga, ang gagamitin mo na top coat or pang finish. O yung finished property that impart durability and protection to the finished product. Ease of application to suit a particular production process, schedule, or environment. As mentioned earlier, for instance, gagamit ka ba ng spraying or ng brushing? So, depende yan sa gaano kalaki yung production requirement mo. Gagamit ka ba ng NC or ng PU? So, depende yan sa kung ano yung intended mo ng end use. Para ba siya sa furniture? Para ba siya sa handicraft? Or ima-market mo ba siya sa ibang bansa? So, merong mga certain countries na meron silang preferred na color, meron silang preferred na finish, or may tendency na dahil iba yung environment, magpe-perform din yung finish differently. Dry speed to meet production schedule. As mentioned earlier, meron tayong iba't ibang drying time. So, if you use, for instance, polyurethane, you can pack it in 12 hours pa. What if kailangan mo ng i-transport yung inyong product? Good build per coat. There are certain top coats kung saan high build siya or high solids. Ibig sabihin, like for 1 or 2 coats, pwede mo nang ma-achieve yung same thickness compared dun sa mga 3 or 4 ng ibang types of finish. Meron din good polishing and rubbing properties for high gloss. Since merong mga market na gusto nila na high gloss, there are certain finishes na hindi mo mai-increase yung level ng gloss niya. Baga kung yun na yung kanyang level of gloss, hanggang doon na lang siya. But then as mentioned earlier, merong mga top coat na pwede mo pa siyang i-rub to increase yung level ng sheen or ng gloss. Clarity or absence of haze and cloudiness. So, though itong portion na ito, sa ngayon ay pwede na natin siyang i-correct by using some some materials. Factors, these naman are the general tips and guides sa pagpe-finish. Number 1, ensure na mag-work tayo in room with good ventilation. Because actually, ang mga finishing materials, it is made up of hundreds of chemicals, no? Tapos, meron pa siyang mga solvents na when you apply, masyado siyang smelly or maamoy, no? So, dapat there's a good ventilation kung saan tayo ay nagpi-finish. Also, we have to keep dust to minimum. Preferably, iba yung area kung saan tayo nagsasand and nag-a-apply ng top coat. Remove all dust from the wood piece with a tack rag prior to applying the finish. And finish underparts and interiors before finishing the outside. Now, yung safety precautions. So, sa pagpe-finish, as I mentioned, since yung material natin is composed ng different hundreds of chemicals, kailangan we have to ensure our safety sa pag-apply ng finish. So, the ideal is that dun sa para sa mga nag-a-apply ng finish, meron siyang safety na damit, no? Dapat long pants, so preferably cover yung buong katawan. Gloves is very important. The respirator or mask at the minimum. Goggles and face shield. And dun sa finishing area, dapat meron tayong mga signages na magre-remind to ensure yung safety while applying finish. So, the ideal, ito yung tinatawag natin full bottle gear sa pag-apply ng finish. Also, we have to eliminate the possible sources of ignition. Number 1, kailangan hindi tayo mag-smoke around flammable and combustible liquids, especially near dun sa mga tinners. We have to maintain a good housekeeping practices. Dapat laging malinis. Yung bawat materials natin, meron siyang kanya-kanyang lagayan. Preferably sorted, magkakasama yung magkakaparehong materials. Use only approved, explosion-proof equipment in hazardous location. Now, these are ilan sa mga safety practices naman to avoid hazards or fire. We have to always clean yung mga solvent containers. Yung mga solvent containers and keep it closed except kapag tayo ay nagpo-pour or ginagamit yung mga solvents. Handle all solvents or any liquids with care to avoid spillage. Do not use torches or welding equipment at the mixing bench or in the paint area. Meron tayong mga products kung saan gumagamit tayo ng mixed media. For instance, meron siyang metal component, meron siyang rattan component, kung saan yung mga rattan component or yung bamboo component, we have to use yung mga torch. Sa metal component, kailangan natin mag-welding, kailangan mo siyang i-dip sa mga anti-rust. So, kailangan malayo yung finishing area dito sa mga ganitong lugar. And we also have to store flammable material sa tamang storage or container. Okay, these are the samples kung saan pwede natin i-apply yung finishing, no? So, for furniture, for handicrafts, for accessories, or even for engineered bamboo. Okay, and finally, this slide shows you yung investment cost. If you want to go into the business of finishing or gusto mong idagdag sa iyong operation, yung pag-apply ng finish, so these are the investment costs. So yung spray gun, of course, ito ay nagbavari ang size depende sa brand and sa quality from 1.5 kung nag-i-start up ka pa lang, pwede ka na dito sa 1.5 to 20,000. Size 20,000. Compressor varies again per brand, per capacity from 5,000 to 50,000. And we also need yung mga compressor or finishing accessories like hose, water filter, gauge, ganyan. So, around 10,000. We need different sanders. It ranges from 3 to 10,000. Depende kung ano at ilang sanders ang requirement mo. Of course, we need yung mga finishing tools like brass, spatula. So, it's around 1,000. And then, of course, yung mga finishing materials, it varies in sizes. So, these are just estimates. So, nagba-vary pa rin siya depending on the brand and sa size. So, that ends my presentation. Thank you very much.